Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Tuesday, January 24th. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. The countdown for the AFC Championship Game is underway. The Chiefs are hosting the game for the fifth straight year. That's never happened in NFL history in the AFC or NFC. And the opponent is the Cincinnati Bengals for the second straight year. A big storyline is the health of quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who suffered a high ankle sprain in Saturday's Divisional Round victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. That happened in the second quarter, and Mahomes, after sitting out a couple series, finished the game. Will Mahomes play on Sunday against the Bengals? Mahomes insisted after the game on Saturday that he would, and that's what Andy Reid referred to when he spoke to reporters on Monday. But Big Red wants to see Mahomes practice this week to have more information on the matter. On today's show, Star columnists Vahe, Gregorian, and Sam McDowell discuss the uncertainty surrounding Mahomes and the idea of playing with a less than 100% Mahomes. Okay, let's get started. I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys about the Jaguars game afterwards. Before we talk about the Bengals, let's wrap up the performance on Saturday. And of course, it totally relates to the AFC Championship Game because of the status of Patrick Mahomes and his high ankle sprain. So how about, I keep reading and seeing people call it, a courageous victory by the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, one of his best moments. But does this fall into that category to you, Vahe?
It does in a different way, and Sam and I were talking about this, and I think Sam, your headline, you put together your headline on the column you wrote that we were robbed of the game we might hope you'd see from Patrick, but you got a different and even better story out of it in a certain way. We've seen so many dimensions to Patrick over the years. We've obviously seen him, we sort of joke, but like regenerate a limb before with the kneecap and all these things. Certainly seen his grit and resolve before, but this was all kind of funneled into one, kind of really, when you get right to it, pretty astounding performance based on how clearly, not just limited, but surely in excruciating pain he was, and just, I'm going to do this. It's funny, I don't know if you guys follow Conrad McGorkin on Twitter. He does all the memes, but he jazzed up one of Andy Reid as Bella Caroli and Patrick as Kerry Strug.
I missed that one.
That was pretty good. And another with Patrick as Kirk Gibson at the plate. I think, Sam, you might have referred to a Jordan moment or a Willis Reed
Wow,
moment.
Young Sam?
Young Sam, I don't know where he pulled that.
Willis Reed?
What hat he pulled that out of, but
and the Rookie of the Year.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Which, let me just take a moment here to say, I really appreciated that comparison. That was one of the favorite movies in the Kirchhoff household with the young boys.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
great
Henry Roland Gardner
Roland Gardner. Yeah,
was the character. So anyway, kudos, Sam, for that.
Yeah, to you.
Yeah.
But really, right now, to you. What do you got?
I think that it's the type of game that when Mahomes' career's all said and done, we could still be talking about. But that's only if they win these next 2 weeks. And it reminds me a little bit of, I referenced this, and Blair, you and I talked about it before I sat down to write, that 13-second game should have been a lot more memorable game than it was in Kansas City sports history. It was still, the ESPY's game of the year, because on a national scale, people appreciated how just great that game was. But I think the phrasing I'd said to you, and then I used it in a column, was that should be plastered across billboards in Kansas City. People should still be talking about that every day. They don't, because it brings up the memory of the Bengals game that followed the following week. So I think this has that same sort of sentiment, and people will want to forget about that game if they go out and lose to the Bengals afterwards.
Yeah, it certainly loses its luster, right, one way or another. And,
yeah.
And to the point of, look away.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 seconds should have been on T-shirts, right? And billboards, and it's not. But it is. It's one of the great games in NFL history. It just comes along with with a little bit of bitterness too for Chiefs fans. I thought when we saw Mahomes get up and wince and limp and just seemed to be in pain, my first thought was it's broken, it's fractured. It's a worst. I thought worst case scenario. But and then while the game was in commercial break, we were watching him on the sideline, arguing with Andy Reid and others about wanting to get back into the game. So at that point, it kind of felt like it was going to be okay. But I also had a flashback to the Browns playoff game of 3 years ago when he had the head injury and he got up and wobbled and then went back down, and you knew then that there was big trouble. Yeah. You can't will yourself back into a game after that kind of hit. And then Chad Henne, of course, finished that game just as he came in and did an incredible job. Probably the greatest moment of his NFL career was that 98-yard touchdown drive. But Mahomes goes back in. He plays the second half. The Chiefs end up winning. So where does that all leave us now? We're recording this on Monday. Andy Reid told us a little while ago, I believe I'm quoting him correctly here, said he's going to play.
He said, so I had tweeted that out, and then I went back and listened. He said, well, he told you guys, he mentioned it to you that he's going to play.
Yeah, that's right. He said, Mahomes said it.
Yeah, so I still think it's the same sentiment that all of us are expecting Patrick Mahomes to play on Sunday. What is a little bit unclear is what the week's going to look like for him. I think when you hear former players talk about it, it's a little bit easier the day of than it is the day or two after. And I think the expectation is that he's going to be limited in practice. Andy Reid said he doesn't know yet whether he's going to practice on Wednesday. We expect that we'll be talking to Patrick Mahomes on Wednesday, but if he doesn't practice, they might push that to Thursday or Friday too, I think. The bottom line is I think the Patrick Mahomes we saw in the second half was good enough to beat the Jaguars, and I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is good enough to beat the Bengals.
I think that's go ahead, you finish, Sam.
Well, we're not sure yet if that's the Patrick Mahomes we're going to get.
Right.
Historically speaking, with most athletes in that general area of injury, the high ankle sprain, that is about what you can expect as far as limited mobility.
The only asterisk I'd add to that is you're 100% right, totally logical that, let's extrapolate it to the Bengals too, a less capable Patrick Mahomes against a team that the Chiefs haven't been able to beat is, a diminished opportunity, right? But the only thing I would add to the thought about the second half is, and obviously they contoured things a bit to what Patrick's limitations would be. You can see quicker passes, maybe a little more run, a couple things. But I think with a whole week to be thinking that way, it gives the Chiefs a chance to flash a little, different approach, different understanding of how to best harness what Patrick can give them. A little more than they could do in real time in game adjustments. Now, what does that mean? Does that actually give him a chance to win if he's really hobbled? That's why they play the game. Who knows? But I think they can work within this in a little different way than they might have been able to cook up in real time on Saturday.
Well, the reason that's accurate is because these guys go through on Saturday night they stay in hotels on Saturday night even for the home games, and that process is going through plays that you want to run the next day. Hey, we've schemed all week. You've watched this team on film. You've gone through practice. You know what your guys are capable of doing, and they have the quarterbacks rank their plays. Third and short. What do you like on third and short? What do you like on fourth and short? What do you like in the 4-minute drill, the 2-minute drill? All those plays get ranked, and those plays last week got ranked on the assumption that Patrick Mahomes is healthy. This week they will get ranked differently, and I think it's. And I asked Andy Reid about this. I think it's interesting whether or not the Bengals play him differently. Not just whether the Chiefs are going to be different, but do the Bengals anticipate that he's going to be different, and therefore they play Patrick Mahomes a little differently? Because what's been unique about this team, not only the fact that they've won 3 times. Well, I thought your stat, by the way, 26-2 against everybody else in the same time span that they've gone 0-3 against this team. I'm surprised more teams haven't done what the Bengals have done defensively, knowing those numbers. And what the Bengals do defensively is their defensive linemen stay in lanes. They try and make Patrick Mahomes a pocket quarterback only. And I think the ankle might make him a pocket quarterback only. So it's a really interesting that this is the team they're facing this week after this injury.
I think the Bengals will test him. They'll come after him. The Bengals, we know, have been a team that in this stretch of success have rarely blitz, drop 7, have a spy on Mahomes, and rush 3 at times, and have had success doing it. So I wonder if this doesn't prompt the Bengals to look at maybe we against the Bills on Sunday. They brought the cornerback a few times.
A lot of delayed blitzes against him.
Yes.
But I think you're right, Blair. Does this prompt them to say, we don't think this guy has the agility on this ankle to make a sudden movement if we disguise it well? The Chiefs disguise blitzes, I think, really well, too. I think it's as good as a blitzer as L'Jarius Sneed is. I think the way they design Justin Reid and L'Jarius Sneed to come into the backfield is one of the reasons they're so successful with it. But to your point, Blair, I looked up some of the stats on how many rushers the Bengals bring versus everybody else, and the first time that they faced the Bengals last year in the regular season, they brought 3 guys on 4 dropbacks, and Mahomes was 3 for 4 with a touchdown. In the playoff game last year, they brought 3 guys 19 times against it. Was 41% of the dropbacks, and Mahomes was 8 out of 15 for 77 yards and interception. And what's really telling about that stat is 4 sacks, bringing only 3 guys. And so I looked more into that as far as what he does in the pocket versus out of the pocket. And last year, Mahomes in the playoff game went out of pocket. Where is it? He went out of pocket 9 times. He got sacked on 3 of those going out of the pocket. This entire 2022 season, he's been out of the pocket 121 dropbacks. He's been sacked once. So the Bengals' whole strategy is based on, if you're getting out of the pocket, we're getting you. You're not getting out of the pocket because something is broken down with our defensive line and, the edge has come up too far upfield and therefore you've got this lane, or we've split in the middle and you've got this lane to run up the middle. It's you're getting out of the pocket because you've got no other option in your head, and we're getting you. We're ready for you if you get out of the pocket. And that's why I said it's such an interesting team that's the one they play this week, because I don't think that's the Mahomes we're going to see this week based on the injury.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And boy, that's great data.
So I think the running game for the Chiefs, the running game has to play a bigger role. Isaiah Pacheco in his toughness, his hard running, which we saw a lot against Jacksonville, will have to, he had, I think, 90-plus yards against the Jaguars. I think it's going to have to be a ball control game for the Chiefs, short passes by Mahomes so he can avoid the rush. And the way I'm describing it, it's as if I think the Chiefs have to think like an underdog in this game. We've been hearing ever since Mahomes has been the starter, this is the game plan for opponents. Keep Mahomes off the field and, control the clock and control the ball. Don't turn it over. Given the situation here, and I know the Chiefs are playing at home, and as of this moment, they're a slight, I think, a 1-point favorite, but I think the Chiefs have to think differently. I think the Chiefs have to, approach this game like an underdog. And that's a rare spot for them.
It is, and I think they would have to have been thinking that way anyway, even before Mahomes was hurt. But obviously, magnified greatly by this. It's just a sort of a thought exercise, but it makes me wonder if the game plan is predicated on that a little bit more than it might normally be. How much equally equipped, if that's the right term, Chad Henne would be to conduct that exercise if, in fact, Patrick's knocked out or just can't really function properly. I mean, if they're looking that way anyway, delivering the more fundamental game than the dynamic game, what we can't possibly know is how much Patrick will have the capacity to do what normally distinguishes him, right? Which is something that, is just off the charts, one way or another. The throw, the release angle, the run.
Yeah, and the other piece of what the Bengals did to the Chiefs last year is they played this like robber thief defense, which is bringing a safety. Sometimes they do it with both their safeties, and he lines up in the middle, but you don't know which guy. The Bills do a lot of this too, by the way. You don't know what receiver they're just going to choose to double team, and they do it a lot with Travis Kelce. They're just taking their safety and just saying, it might look like Travis Kelce has single coverage pre-snap, but we know in our minds we're doubling this guy. Blair, I think you're right. They're going to have to run more quick stuff, in which case I think you're going to see more of that type of defense from the Bengals. And when I mentioned earlier that Andy Reid anticipates that the Bengals might have another wrinkle knowing what Patrick Mahomes is going through, I think that they're going to feel more liberty to bring their safety closer to the line of scrimmage, because I think they're going to anticipate that they want Patrick Mahomes to move as little as possible, and therefore these plays that take a little bit to develop, other than you've got the classic go routes, of course, but other than those routes, Travis Kelce runs downfield quite a bit too. He doesn't run downfield quite as quickly as like Marquez Valdez-Scantling does. Plus, he's getting bumped on the line of scrimmage more frequently. Like, it takes those routes a while to develop. I don't know that I think the Bengals might make the Chiefs prove that they can run those sorts of things.
Just a quick aside, but sort of related, the guy that keeps coming into focus for me as a really interesting X factor in this game for a variety of reasons, but including what we're talking about, is Kadarius Toney. Whether he, in some ways, can fit in that sort of short to intermediate game with his quickness and elusiveness. I don't know. I picture him mattering in this game.
I've been waiting every game this year for the Chiefs to complete a deep ball. It finally happened in the final regular season game to Justin Watson. But when the Chiefs acquired Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Juju Smith-Schuster, they got guys that have deep reception ability. Juju Smith-Schuster has a pair of 97-yard touchdown receptions in his. I think it was when he was with the Steelers. And Valdez-Scantling, that's what he's about, supposedly. And we just haven't seen that. I'm just wondering if this isn't the game where there's an opportunity for that.
It's funny. I don't think they've treated Marquez more that way, and they've just missed a couple. I can't really remember too many deep shots to Juju. I mean, just shots even, right? He seems to be, generally speaking, he's going to be a mid-range guy. I feel like he's coming back to the ball, not in stride when he's getting hit 20, 25 yards downfield quite often. But I can't think of many plays where he's being, just you go cut loose. I mean, they certainly look more to Marquez for that, and even Justin Watson for that.
Yeah, I mean, Juju plays that X spot in the Chiefs' offense, which is more to offset. I mentioned that Robert defense already. It's more to offset if they cut in on a short route to Kelce, this other short route over here is open. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons that Juju performs really well against blitzes. I think it's because he's constantly a quick option, and I think he serves more of a need than maybe the stats demonstrate. I think he allows Kelce to be open because he runs in similar areas of the field. But they ran because of the fact that the Bengals don't do a lot of shell defense against them the way other teams do. They anticipated that in Cincinnati, and they ran back-to-back plays to Marquez down the middle of the field last year. Mahomes missed the first one. They went right back to it the very next play, and he hit him on a third down play. But the point is, both of them were open. And I do think those are the types of routes. Now, that specific play, when you run it back-to-back, I think the Bengals could be anticipating this is in their playbook if Marquez lines up in the slot. But I think that's the type of play that could be open in the middle of the field. And we remember that in the news conference after the game, Patrick Mahomes said, he was telling Andy Reid, I still want to throw deep. But heck, that goes back to the top with the original argument they had. Andy Reid usually wins the argument, we found out on Saturday.
By the way, so go back to, Chad Henne was talking about it at the news conference the other day, and we've understood this at least generally before, but how is the quarterback really the only one who gets to rate the plays? I mean, Patrick's saying, I want to throw make up the play call. Probably has the word Arctic in it somewhere. I want to throw deep to Justin Watson, for example. And Patrick says that's
no,
one
the
of my...
columnists do not get it. Is that what you're asking? Do the columnists say, where's Justin Watson?
No, but the point is, Patrick says that's my preference. Andy says, well, that's too bad. I mean, how does that negotiation work on rating plays for Patrick?
I get the sense that it's sort of Andy Reid has developed a game plan and saying this is the group of plays we think schematically might work this week. Let's narrow it down from this list. Let's sort of use a ranking from this list. By the way, they do the same thing with Chad Henne. I mean, Chad Henne.
That was very interesting.
Again, we heard Andy Reid.
Yeah,
we heard Andy Reid say today that they have the same playbook, but they rank those plays differently. And Chad Henne mentioned one. You mentioned it, but they and what you wrote, but they, Henne's got a different ranking than Mahomes does on the ones he picks for obvious reasons.
Right. Anyway, it's just interesting to picture that back and forth. I mean, I think, have an accurate vision of the synergy between Patrick and Andy, for instance, but sometimes Andy has to be the dad and tell you to go get an X-ray.
So in the three losses, all by a field goal, the Chiefs led in the fourth quarter in all of them at some point in the fourth quarter. And I don't think any of us would think that there's a big difference in just the quality of those teams. But of the 4 divisional round games this weekend, as big as the Eagles beat the Giants, the Bengals were, to me, the most impressive team. To go on the road, to do it in those conditions against that team in Buffalo. I after that game was over, I was coming up with a way that the Chiefs were going to beat the Bengals, and I was hard-pressed to do it. I really was. The Bengals were doing everything right, and on both sides of the ball, and the Chiefs, as good as they were against the Jaguars, and as good as we've seen the Chiefs this year, I'm not sure I've seen a Chiefs team so good that they would beat the Bengals best, what I saw on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you saw the Bengals at their best, and I think one thing we can sort of get lost in outside these facilities is overreaction to like one game as defining who that team is. I mean, the Giants had a road game, a road win the week before. They got killed. The Cowboys looked unbeatable against the Bucs. Dak Prescott, I thought, had the best game of his life in Tampa Bay. He looked really bad in Santa Clara the next week. The Bengals didn't look great against the Ravens. I thought when I watched them play the Ravens that team's beatable. I've actually thought throughout the back half of the year that the Bengals were the more beatable team. I still wonder how many times they beat the Bills in that game. I think it could be 5-5, which, I mean, they destroyed them in all 3 phases. So I think most people would probably say, well, the Bengals would beat them every time. But I think a lot of it is just catching a team on a day. And we did see what the Bengals' very best is. And I agree with you, Blair, that the Bengals at their very best, I think, would require the Chiefs at their very best to win the game. I don't think that the typical Chiefs performance beats the team we saw in Buffalo. But I don't think I don't think it's necessarily true that that's the team we'll see in Kansas City next week.
And look, the Chiefs will have some say in that. I don't feel like I understand enough of why Buffalo couldn't get to Burrow to say the Chiefs could or couldn't do that. But 1 sack, three linemen out, and I think another one injured during the game. It seems like that's a Buffalo thing here too. That Buffalo didn't get that done. Chiefs obviously have a greatly improved pass rush this year from last year. Didn't matter in the first game against the Bengals. Had 1 sack like they did last postseason. But I think a lot of this game is right there. I don't know that the Bengals can really shut down the Chiefs offense altogether, but I'd assume the Chiefs will get into the 20s. But can they keep the Bengals out of the 30s?
Right.
That's what I wonder.
So there's been 2 of the 3, right? 2 27-24s and 34-31. So
yeah.
Okay.
Vahe is right, though. I mean, I'm surprised that it took us that long to mention it. I mean, the defensive line for the Chiefs against the Bengals offensive line is the non-Mahomes injury key to the game. it's the weakness for the Bengals, and the teams that take advantage of that weakness are the teams that beat them. And the Chiefs haven't taken advantage of it the last 3 times they played them.
That's right. And the Chiefs aren't one to often have a spy type of linebacker or safety. Maybe this week it happens. So plenty more to discuss about Chiefs and Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and we will throughout the week. But thanks, Sam. Thanks, Vahe.
Thanks, Blair.
That will do it for today. Thanks to our producer, George Howard, and the SportsBeat KC production crew of Monty Davis, Randy Mason, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Sam McDowell and Vahe Gregorian for sharing their insights. Morning Sports Edition was packed with news about the Chiefs, the NFL playoffs, college basketball, you name it, it was in there. Go to liveedition.kansascity.com for more information. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.